Hello and welcome back to the channel. Norsehawk here. I saw this game coming up on the soon-to-be coming out games, and I reached out to the developer and they sent me a key for this. It's called DreamIO AI-powered adventures. The way I just cursory glance, it looks like it's a mix of like one of the AI image generators as well as like Chat GPT that will take you on adventures that you like either type in, say commands, and it will actually make an adventure for you based on your input. Um, and every adventure is going to be different as well. Very basic settings. We have narration enabled, illustration enabled, story outcomes deterministic, full screen enabled, music volume. I prefer to have music down very low anyway. Um, you have 300,000 tokens. I'm not sure what that is. It might be like a system for it as far as like paying for it. But so let's go ahead and play and take a look. It's the first time I've touched this, so let's see. Start a new adventure. Okay, we have cyberpunk, alien planet, medieval, zombie apocalypse, nuclear holocaust, alien invasion, search for anomalies. Let's try a medieval one. Welcome to DreamIO, AI-powered adventure. Here are a few tips to get you started. You can type/say your actions, dialogue, events, and ask narrator questions, interact with him in any way you want. By default, the narrator will trigger a game over if you die and may reject some actions. You can click Rule Set button at the top to adjust the narrator's behavior. You can use the What Are My Choices button if you're unsure how to proceed. Okay? Narrator says, you awaken in a shadowy alley in a bustling medieval town. Around you, the clamor of the town life echoes. The chorus of market criers and the clatter of horse hooves on cobblestone. You have no memory of how you got here. What will you do next? Well, first I'm going to look around.
You take a moment to survey your surroundings. The alleyway is narrow, with tall buildings on either side casting shadows on the uneven cobblestone street below. You can see the bustle of the town beyond, with market cries and horse-drawn carriages passing by. What will you do next?
Okay. Walk to the cobblestone street.
You step out of the alleyway and onto the bustling cobblestone street. The market is in full swing, with vendors selling everything from fresh produce to handmade crafts. You notice a group of guards patrolling the area, keeping an eye on the crowds. What will you do next?
Check and see if I have anything in my pockets.
You reach into your pockets and find a small pouch containing a few coins, as well as a folded piece of parchment. What will you do next?
Read the parchment.
You unfold the parchment and see that it's a map of the town. It shows various landmarks, including a castle on the outskirts of town. What will you do next?
Am I hungry?
You realize that you are indeed quite hungry. The smells of cooking food waft through the air, tempting your stomach. What will you do next?
Look for food. A vendor that I can afford. Get something to eat at.
You scan the various food vendors, looking for something that fits your budget. You spot a small stall selling roasted meats and vegetables, with prices that seem reasonable. What will you do next?
and
You approach the small stall and purchase a roasted meat skewer and some vegetables. The vendor hands you your food, which smells delicious. You find a quiet spot out of the way to sit down and eat your meal. As you eat, you notice a group of shady-looking individuals eyeing you from across the street. What will you do next?
describe the individuals. So I notice my points are going down, so I guess
You take a closer look at the group of individuals across the street. They appear to be wearing dark clothing and hoods, making it difficult to see their faces. However, you can tell that they are watching you intently and seem to be whispering amongst themselves. What will you do next?
Okay. Let's do something a little crazy here. I'm getting a little lag here on the internet, so we'll see how this goes. There we go. Okay, so they're looking at me, they're being all shady and quiet and all that. So let's throw a big old wrench in their plans. Stand up. Look at them intently. And cross loudly. To them.
You stand up and look at the group of shady individuals intently. You then cross the street towards them, greeting them loudly like they are long-lost friends that you haven't seen in forever. As you approach them, you draw a lot of attention to them from the other people on the street. The group looks surprised and taken aback by your sudden approach, but they don't say anything. What will you do next? You ask the group of shady individuals how they have been and what's up. They look at each other, seemingly unsure of how to respond. Finally, one of them speaks up and says, "We don't know you. Why are you approaching us like this? What will you do next?"
Oh, I thought I... I thought you knew me the way you looked at me before.
The group of shady individuals exchange glances again, clearly still suspicious of you. One of them speaks up and says, "There's been some strange things happening in this town lately. People disappearing without a trace, strange noises at night, and rumors of dark magic being practiced by some of the townsfolk." They pause for a moment before continuing, "But we don't know anything more than that. We suggest you keep your head down and stay out of trouble if you want to make it out alive. What will you do next?" The group of shady individuals look at each other again, seemingly considering your request. Finally, one of them speaks up and says, "There's a blacksmith in town who's been looking for an apprentice. He pays well and doesn't ask too many questions. You could try your luck there." They pause before adding, "But be careful. The guards are always watching, and they don't take kindly to strangers." What will you do next? The group nods and one of them steps forward, gesturing for you to follow. They lead you through the winding streets of the town, avoiding the main roads where guards are more likely to be patrolling. After a few minutes, you arrive at a small blacksmith shop tucked away in a quiet corner of town. The group bids you farewell and disappears into the shadows. You stand outside the shop, taking in your surroundings. What will you do next? You listen carefully at the slightly ajar door, and you can hear the sound of metal clanging against metal. It sounds like the blacksmith is hard at work. You wait for a few minutes, but the sound doesn't stop. What will you do next?
Print.
The sound of your knock is drowned out by the clanging of metal, but after a few moments, the blacksmith stops his work and approaches the door. He opens it slightly and peers out at you. "What do you want?" he gruffly asks. You explain that you heard he was looking for an apprentice and that you're interested in learning the trade. The blacksmith eyes you up and down before nodding. "I could use some extra hands around here," he says. "Come on in." As you step inside, the heat from the forge hits you like a wall. The blacksmith introduces himself as Thomas and shows you around the shop, explaining what each tool is used for and how to properly handle them. He puts you to work right away, showing you how to hammer out a piece of metal into a simple shape. Hours pass as Thomas teaches you more about blacksmithing, and soon it's time to close up shop for the day.
Thank you for teaching me, Thomas. Is there...
Thomas nods and tells you that he has a small room in the back of the shop where you can sleep. It's not much, but it's safe and warm. He hands you a key and shows you where to go. As you settle into your new sleeping quarters, you can't help but feel grateful for Thomas's kindness. You drift off to sleep, exhausted from the day's work. The next morning, Thomas wakes you up early and puts you right back to work. As the days pass, you begin to learn more advanced techniques and start working on bigger projects.
Continue practicing. And under Thomas's, capitalize that.
As you continue to work under Thomas's guidance, your skills improve rapidly. You start to feel more confident in your abilities and take on more challenging projects. One day, a wealthy merchant comes into the shop and asks Thomas if he can make a custom sword for him. Thomas agrees, but tells the merchant that it will take some time to complete. The merchant offers to pay a large sum of money up front as a deposit, which catches both yours and Thomas's attention. After discussing it with each other, you both agree to take on the project. Over the next few weeks, you work tirelessly on the sword, pouring all of your knowledge and skill into it. When it's finally finished, you present it to the merchant, who is overjoyed with the result. He pays you and Thomas handsomely for your work, thanking you both for creating such a beautiful piece.
Nice, very cool. My share, and thanks for his training.
Thomas is surprised and grateful when you offer him half of your share of the payment. He thanks you and tells you that he's proud of how far you've come in such a short amount of time. As the days go by, Thomas continues to teach you new techniques and skills, and you continue to work on various projects for customers who come into the shop. One day, a group of rough-looking men enter the shop, demanding that Thomas pay them protection money. Thomas refuses, telling them that he won't be intimidated or bullied. The men become angry and start to threaten both Thomas and yourself. What will you do?
I pick up the heaviest hammer in the forge shop.
The men look at you with surprise and amusement, clearly not taking you seriously. One of them steps forward, drawing his sword. "You think you can take us on with a hammer?" he sneers. Thomas steps forward as well, standing beside you. "We won't be paying your protection money," he says firmly. "You can leave now." The men hesitate for a moment before one of them lunges forward, swinging his sword at Thomas. What will you do?
Okay, we will shove the hammer into his stomach and push him backwards into his friends.
You quickly step forward and swing the hammer with all your might, hitting the man in the stomach and sending him stumbling backwards into his companions. They collide with each other, momentarily stunned. Thomas takes advantage of their confusion and swings his own hammer at one of them, knocking him to the ground. The remaining two men recover quickly and charge towards you both. What will you do next?
Okay, here's an 80s reference. Shout. It's hammer time! And
Hammer time!
You shout out, "Battle cry," and charge towards the two men. They are caught off guard by your sudden attack and stumble backwards, trying to defend themselves from your weapon swings. Your companion joins in the fight, wielding their own weapon with precision and skill. The room is filled with the sound of clashing metal as you all battle fiercely. After a few minutes of intense fighting, the last of the enemies falls to the ground, defeated. You all take a moment to catch your breath before your companion turns to you with a grateful smile. "Thank you for standing up for me," they say. "I couldn't have done it without you." What will you do next?
it says potential references to copyright material or real people have been detected. To comply with Steam's copyright AI content policies and to avoid legal issues, filtering is applied. So that's why I said call a battle cry instead of It's hammer time! Okay. As if we should contact the guards to have them arrested, or what else we should do.
Thomas nods in agreement. Yes, we should definitely contact the guards and have them arrested for their crimes. We cannot let them continue to terrorize our town. You both head to the local guard station and report what happened, providing descriptions of the attackers. The guards thank you for your bravery and promise to take action. As you leave the station, Thomas turns to you with a serious expression. We must be careful now, he says. Those men may have allies who seek revenge. We need to stay alert and prepared for anything. What will you do next?
Best bet is to protect the forge. The forge?
You check your coin purse and realize that you have enough money to hire a guard or two for the forge as security. You discuss this with Thomas, who agrees that it would be a wise investment. After some inquiries, you find two trustworthy guards who are willing to work for a fair wage. They take turns patrolling the forge and keeping an eye out for any potential threats. With the added security measures in place, you feel more at ease and continue your work as a blacksmith with renewed focus. What will you do next?
I'm not sure what to do at this point, because I've got a nice, comfy living. We're safe right now for the most part. We have good income. Let me see what my choices are. Let's see. Want to start working on a new project, something challenging. Let's go explore the town. Maybe we can find some clues about my past. I think it's time for me to start saving money and think about my future plans. Let's do this new project.
Thomas nods in agreement and suggests that you try your hand at crafting a suit of armor. He explains that it would require a lot of skill and patience, but the end result would be worth it. Excited by the prospect, you begin gathering materials and sketching out designs. You spend long hours at the forge, hammering away at sheets of metal and carefully shaping them into intricate pieces. As you work, you notice that some of the townspeople have started to take notice of your craftsmanship. They stop by the forge to watch you work and admire your creations. What will you do next? Let's see. What? What are the nobility? Is the social structure of the town? Who is in charge? You ask around and learn that the town is ruled by a lord who resides in a castle on the outskirts. He has appointed a mayor to oversee the day-to-day affairs of the town, but ultimately holds all the power. The lord is known to be just but strict, and his laws are enforced by a group of knights who patrol the streets. The townspeople generally respect their authority, but there are some who chafe under their rule. What will you do next?
Reach out to the group of knights.
You approach a group of knights patrolling the streets and explain your request. One of them, a stern-looking man with a scar on his cheek, listens to you intently. I am in need of a new sword, he says. If you can craft one that meets my standards, I will pay you well. He hands you a rough sketch of what he wants, and tells you to come back in 2 weeks' time with the finished product. What will you do next? You spend every moment of the next 2 weeks working on the sword for the knight. You pour all your skill and effort into it, determined to make it the best weapon you've ever crafted. Finally, the day arrives when you are to present the sword to the knight. You nervously approach him, holding out the weapon for inspection. The knight takes it from you and examines it closely. After a few moments, he nods in approval. This is a fine piece of work, he says. I will pay you as promised. He hands you a pouch of coins and sheaths his new sword at his side. What will you do next?
Let's start
The
working
knight
with knights.
nods thoughtfully. We could always use a skilled blacksmith on hand, he says. But you should know that the Lord has strict rules about who can work for him and who cannot. You would need to be approved by him before you could become an official blacksmith for the knights. He pauses, considering. However, I may be able to put in a good word for you with the Lord. If you're interested, I can arrange a meeting between the two of you. What will you do next?
I ask the knight to arrange the meeting and what I should do to have the best chance of getting his approval.
The knight nods and gives you a time and place for the meeting. As for getting his approval, you'll want to make sure your work is of the highest quality, he advises. The Lord values craftsmanship above all else. And be respectful, he doesn't take kindly to those who waste his time. With that, the knight bids you farewell and heads off to continue his patrol. What will you do next?
Okay, I will finish the suit of armor I was working on putting extra care into the craftsmanship. Yep. And it to the Lord? Was it Lord? Lord. Of my work.
You spend the next few days pouring all of your skill and attention into crafting the suit of armor. It is a masterpiece, with intricate details and flawless construction. When it is finished, you make your way to the castle to present it to the Lord. The guards at the gate eye you suspiciously as you approach, but when you explain that you have an appointment with the Lord, they let you through. You are led through winding corridors and up a grand staircase until you finally reach the throne room. The Lord sits on his throne, surrounded by his advisors and knights. He looks up as you enter and raises an eyebrow in curiosity. "What brings you here?" he asks. You step forward and present the suit of armor. "My lord," you say respectfully, "I am a blacksmith in this town, and I wanted to show you an example of my work." The Lord examines the armor closely, running his fingers over its surface. After a moment, he nods approvingly.
Well, let's see. Smith for the knights. For his knights.
The Lord looks at you thoughtfully for a moment before speaking. "Your work is impressive, and I can see that you have a true talent for blacksmithing," he says. "I am willing to give you a chance as our dedicated blacksmith, but know that the standards are high and the expectations even higher. You will be held accountable for any flaws in your work." You nod eagerly, grateful for the opportunity. "Very well," the Lord says, standing up from his throne. "I will have one of my knights escort you to the forge where you will be working. You may begin immediately." With that, he dismisses you and turns his attention back to his advisors. As you leave the throne room with your knight escort, you feel a sense of pride and excitement at this new opportunity.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let's see here. What are my options? That goes good.
Your knight escort leads you through the castle to the forge, which is located in a separate building. As you enter, you see that it is well equipped with all the tools and materials you need to create high-quality armor and weapons. You spend the next few days working tirelessly, crafting armor for the knights and weapons for their squires. The work is challenging but rewarding, and you take pride in every piece that leaves your forge. As time passes, word of your skill spreads throughout the town and beyond. Merchants come from far and wide to commission custom pieces from you, and even some nobles seek out your services. One day, as you're working on a particularly intricate piece of armor, a messenger arrives with urgent news. The neighboring kingdom has declared war on yours, and the Lord needs all available blacksmiths to help arm his army. "What will you do?" asks your knight escort.
Okay,
You nod to the knight and quickly gather your tools. You know that time is of the essence, and you must work quickly to create as many weapons and armor pieces as possible. For days on end, you work tirelessly in the forge alongside other blacksmiths. The sound of hammers ringing through the air becomes a constant background noise, and sparks fly from the anvils as you craft swords, shields, and armor. Despite the long hours and physical exhaustion, you feel a sense of pride knowing that your work will help protect your kingdom in its time of need. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the army is fully armed and ready for battle. You watch from afar as they march off to face their enemy with confidence and determination. As you return to your forge to resume your regular duties, you can't help but feel grateful for this opportunity to serve your lord and country.
I mean, I've pretty much become the king's blacksmith, or the lord's blacksmith. Pretty happy with how the story's going right now.
You take a moment to reflect on the events of the past few weeks. You feel a sense of accomplishment and pride in knowing that you played a part in protecting your kingdom. As you resume your regular duties, you notice that business has picked up significantly. Merchants and nobles alike come to your forge seeking custom weapons and armor, impressed by the quality of your work for the army. Days turn into weeks, and before you know it, months have passed. Your reputation as a skilled blacksmith spreads far and wide, and people come from all over to commission pieces from you. One day, as you're working on a particularly intricate sword, Thomas approaches you with an offer. "Boy," he says gruffly, "I've been watching you these past few months, and I must say I'm impressed with what I've seen. You've got talent, no doubt about it." He pauses for a moment before continuing. "I'm getting old, boy. Thomas nods, a small smile on his face. "I appreciate that, boy. But what I was going to say is this: I want you to take over the forge when I'm gone." You're taken aback by his words. You had never considered taking over the forge, but the thought of it fills you with a sense of pride and responsibility. "I don't know what to say," you stammer. "Say yes," Thomas says firmly. "I've seen enough in you to know that you'll do right by this place." You nod slowly, feeling a weight settle on your shoulders. You know that running the forge will be no easy task, but you're determined to make Thomas proud. "What do you want me to do now?" you ask him. "Keep working," he says simply. "And keep getting better. There's always room for improvement."
Pretty much what I want to do. Keep working, keep getting better. I will keep working and keep getting better until Thomas wants me to take over his forge full time.
You continue to work diligently at the forge, honing your skills and creating masterful pieces of armor and weaponry. The demand for your work only grows as word spreads of your talent, and you find yourself constantly busy with orders from merchants and nobles alike. As time passes, Thomas begins to take a step back from the forge, allowing you to take on more responsibility. You start to oversee the other apprentices and even begin training some new ones. One day, as you're working on a particularly intricate piece of armor, Thomas approaches you with a serious expression. "I think it's time," he says simply. "Time for what?" you ask, confused. "For you to take over full time," he replies. "I've seen enough in you to know that you're ready." You feel a mix of excitement and nervousness at his words. Taking over the forge is a huge responsibility, but it's also an incredible opportunity. "What do I need to do?" you ask him. Thomas nods, a small smile on his face. "I know you won't," he says before turning to leave. As he walks away, you take a deep breath and look around the forge. It's been your home for so long now, and it's hard to believe that it will soon be entirely yours. But there's no time to dwell on that now. You have work to do. What will you do first as the new owner of the forge? You set out to find some new apprentices, asking around town and putting up notices. It doesn't take long for word to spread, and soon you have a handful of eager young men and women at your doorstep, ready to learn the trade. Over the next few weeks, you work tirelessly with your new apprentices, teaching them everything you know about blacksmithing. You show them how to properly heat and shape metal, how to use various tools and techniques, and how to create beautiful works of art from raw materials. As time goes on, your forge becomes even more successful than before. Your reputation as a skilled blacksmith spreads far and wide, attracting customers from all over the kingdom. But with success comes new challenges. You find yourself working longer hours than ever before, trying to keep up with demand while still maintaining the high quality of your work. What will you do next? You spend the next few months working closely with your apprentices, honing their skills and helping them to perfect their craft. You push them to try new techniques and experiment with different materials, always encouraging them to take risks and learn from their mistakes. As a result of your efforts, your apprentices become some of the most skilled blacksmiths in the kingdom. They create beautiful works of art that are sought after by nobles and merchants alike, and your forge becomes even more successful than before. But despite all of this success, you can't help but feel like something is missing. You long for adventure and excitement, for a chance to test your skills in battle or explore new lands. What will you do next? You decide to put your skills to good use and help those in need. You start by creating weapons and armor for soldiers who are fighting in the ongoing war with the neighboring kingdom. Your work is highly valued, and you receive many requests from soldiers who want custom pieces that will give them an edge in battle. In addition to helping soldiers, you also begin repairing tools for farmers who have been struggling due to the war. Many of their tools have been damaged or destroyed, making it difficult for them to tend to their crops and livestock. Your repairs allow them to get back to work and provide for their families. As word spreads about your generosity and skill, more people come to your forge seeking your help. You become known as a hero among the common people, someone who uses their talents not just for personal gain but also for the greater good. One day, a group of travelers comes into town seeking your assistance. You approach the group of travelers and ask how you can be of assistance. They explain that they are on a mission to deliver supplies to a nearby village that has been ravaged by the war. However, their cart broke down on the way, and they need someone with your skills to repair it. Without hesitation, you agree to help them. You gather your tools and head out of town with the travelers. After a short journey, you arrive at the broken down cart. It's clear that it will take some time to repair, but you get to work immediately. As you work on the cart, you chat with the travelers and learn more about their mission. They tell you about the devastation caused by the war and how many villages have been left without food or shelter. Your heart goes out to these people, and you vow to do everything in your power to help them. After several hours of hard work, you finally manage to fix the cart.
Sorry, just eating breakfast here real quick. Let's see. I vow to
You return to your forge with a newfound determination to help those affected by the war. You gather your apprentices and explain your plan to them. They are eager to help, and you begin training them in the skills they will need to repair tools and build infrastructure. Over the next few weeks, you and your apprentices travel to nearby villages, repairing tools for farmers and building shelters for those who have lost their homes. The work is hard, but it's also rewarding. You see firsthand how much of a difference you can make in people's lives. As word spreads about your efforts, more people come forward asking for help. You realize that there is so much more that needs to be done, but you're determined to keep going. You continue your work, training more and more apprentices to help those in need. Your efforts have a ripple effect, as the new apprentices go on to train others in their communities. You see the impact of your work spreading far beyond what you could have imagined. As you travel from village to village, you notice that the people seem happier and more hopeful than before. They are grateful for the help you've provided and eager to learn from your apprentices. One day, as you're working in a small village, a group of soldiers approach you. They tell you that they've heard about your work and want to recruit you to help with the war effort. You hesitate at first, knowing that your focus has been on helping those affected by the war rather than fighting in it. But then you realize that this could be an opportunity to make an even greater impact. What will you do? The soldiers nod in agreement, impressed by your dedication to helping others. They explain that their mission is not just about fighting the enemy, but also about providing aid and support to those affected by the war. You decide to join them, knowing that you can use your skills as a blacksmith to help both the soldiers and civilians. As you travel with the soldiers, you continue to train your apprentices and provide assistance wherever it's needed. Together, you fight bravely in battles and provide aid to those affected by the war. Your efforts make a significant impact on the outcome of the conflict, and when peace finally comes, you are hailed as a hero. Your work doesn't stop there though. You continue training more apprentices from those in need and using your skills to help rebuild communities devastated by war. Your legacy lives on long after you're gone, inspiring future generations to follow in your footsteps and make a difference in their own way. Congratulations! You have completed this adventure.